Talking to a computer can feel like magic sometimes, but really, at its core, it's just a simple conversation. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and break down exactly how that back and forth really works. It's something we do all the time, right? Almost without even thinking about it. You have an idea or maybe a question, and somehow this machine in front of you just gets it. But have you ever paused and wondered what's actually happening in that moment? The easiest way to wrap your head around it is to think of it just like a conversation. It's a two-way street. You say something to the computer, and then the computer says something back to you. The whole entire process really boils down to two simple ideas: input and output. All right, so let's start with the first half of that conversation: how you talk to the computer. This is all about giving it instructions so it knows what you want it to do. Here it is, laid out, plain and simple. Input is you talking. It's any information you send into the computer. And output, that's the computer talking back. Anything the system sends back out to you. Simple, right? Pretty much every single thing you do on a computer follows this basic pattern. And the way we do this? Well, we use something called an input device. Think of these as little translators. Their only job is to take what we do, like a click of a button or a press of a key, and turn it into a language the computer can actually understand. And of course, you know these two. They're kind of the rock stars of the input world. The keyboard lets us type out our thoughts word for word. And the mouse, it gives us a way to point, to click, to move things around. For most of us, these are the main ways we speak to our computers every day. But, this conversation goes way beyond just typing and clicking. We use joysticks for gaming, scanners to get pictures into the computer, and microphones to capture our voice. Even just touching a screen or scanning a barcode at the grocery store, that's input. They're all just different ways of talking to a computer. Let's try a little something. Just take a moment and look around you right now. Your phone, it's got a touchscreen, a microphone. Your TV remote sends signals, maybe even the buttons on your microwave. You're actually surrounded by these little conversations all day long. Okay, so we've covered our side of the story. Now let's flip it around and look at how the computer talks back to us. This is the output. This is where the machine shows us the results of its work. An output device is basically the flip side of the coin. It takes all that processed information from inside the computer and translates it back into a form we can understand, something we can see or hear or even hold in our hands. It's how the computer replies. Now, the most common output device by far is the monitor, the screen. You could almost say it's the face of the computer. It's where the conversation becomes visible, showing us everything from plain text to incredible videos, and letting us see the computer's response instantly. It's pretty wild to think about how much that face has changed over the years. We went from those huge, boxy CRT monitors that took up half your desk to these super thin, sleek screens we have today. And it's not just about looks. Today's screens are sharper, they use way less power, and thankfully, they give us a lot more room to work with. But what if you need the computer's response in a form you can actually hold? Well, that's where the printer comes in. It takes that digital information and creates what we call a hard copy, turning the computer's output into a real document you can file away or take with you. And just like with input, output isn't just about what you see. Speakers give us sound, music, notifications, all that stuff. Projectors can take an image and blast it onto a wall for a whole room to see. And then you have these super specialized tools, like plotters, that architects use to draw out massive, precise blueprints. So, let's bring it all together. We've looked at how we talk to the computer and how it talks back. Now we can see the whole conversation, the full circle. So if you ever hear someone talk about I/O devices, which is just short for input-output, you'll know exactly what they mean. It's just the name for all the tools that make this conversation happen. They're the bridge between our world and the digital world inside that machine. And this is really the key thing to remember. A computer's processor might be incredibly fast and powerful, but without these devices to get information in and out, it's just a silent box. I/O is what turns it from a calculator into a tool we can actually use. One source we looked at put it perfectly. It said these devices are what allow the computer system to interact with the outside world. I love that. In a way, they're kind of like the computer's senses, its voice, its ears, and its eyes. So the main takeaway here is really simple. Input and output are just the two sides of a conversation we're having all the time. Now that you've got that down, it's kind of fun to think about what's next, right? How will this conversation evolve? Will it be more through our voices, maybe with gestures? The one thing we know for sure is that this conversation is always changing.